Hello, everyone. My name is Brizz Taylor, and welcome to another episode of Seeking Sovereignty. Today, we're here with Kyra from Wise Wolf Tarot. She is a medium. She does tarot readings, and she is my overall guiding light and pagan princess.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
So excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So Kyra here has her own podcast called
Out of the Broom Closet.
Out of the Broom Closet.
Yes.
And she does a lot of really cool stuff on just talking about pagan.
Yeah, just general paganism. So the point of my podcast is to give a example of different people's paths, because no two people walk the same path. You can be going into the same branch of paganism and walk a completely different path.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
what gets you there? How did you get through it? Where did your information come from? Who did you, meet up with along the way? Were you solitary? Were you in a coven? Were you, did you have a tribe? Whatever
Yes.
terminology you want to use, what do you label yourself as? Do you label yourself? Do you hate labels like I do? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much information that makes us all so different. And our paths so different, but yet we're all seeking the same thing.
Yes.
We're all just seeking peace, and we're all just seeking a sense of knowing, a sense of community, a sense of wonder that we are trying to keep from when we were children that we don't have anymore.
Yes.
And just like that general happiness, that knowing that you are, that you're one with the universe, for lack of better phrasing, can make you feel less alone.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And my exit in the podcast is, remember that you're never alone, because you're not.
Yes.
No matter where you are, if you're walking a pagan path, you have probably at this point millions of pagan brothers and sisters that, you can turn to at some point and get guidance from.
Yes.
And I know you and I have talked a lot about kind of the dangers of the fact that paganism has become so popular.
Yes. Yes. Pop culture.
Yeah.
Has kind of construed it. I mean, it happens almost, every century, I would say.
Yeah.
Like every 10 years, even, with Buffy, and then you go through, So I think that
the craft, the early 2000s,
Yes,
craft really did an uptick in paganism, which, granted, I was already pagan by that point, but it was nice to watch the craft and be like, I identify with that.
Yes.
Now, granted, it's a movie. I understand that. And it was not like, I'm like, oh, I can levitate. And I can,
right. Right. Which is
also, but like, that's not going to happen. But you know what I mean? It was still nice to see some form of representation that was not 1,000% negative.
Yes.
Because at the end, like, the one witch is still like a good witch, like good witch, so to speak. But like, it just was something that was not pointy hats and green faces. Right.
The Wicked Witch of the West that we see so often.
Yes. And I think the other movie that really, like, I was like, I feel this in my soul, was Practical Magic.
Oh, yes.
Obviously.
I mean, them dancing around the kitchen.
Oh, the midnight margaritas.
Yes. I mean, there was just something magical, for lack of a better term, about that movie.
Absolutely.
And even non-magical people were obsessed with it, you know? And so that's where... And I do think, and something that we've talked about before with pop culture and the popularity of it, is like, there's so much good information going out there, but there's so much misinformation out there, especially when it comes to spirituality and pagan practices and different things like that, where I personally can be the first to say I have learned so much from the tickety talk. I think that a lot of, but I'm a seeker, so when I find something, like, I've learned a lot about like aliens and like Akashic records and stuff like that off TikTok. And so I'll get a snippet of it, and then down the research rabbit hole I go.
Exactly.
And so I can kind of figure that out from there. But maybe some people aren't as...
It sparks that need to research.
Yes.
Because research rabbit hole is the exact phrase that I use. because I will lose an entire day, multiple days sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, just, I heard something somewhere and it's like, well, but what is that real? What does that mean? And what does this mean to me? And how do I identify with it? And how do I feel about it? And really suck myself in. And then, like, oh crap, it's dinner time. Right?
I know. So, I'm down the Wikipedia
yeah.
fucking...
The Wikipedia? Have you been on Wikipedia? Oh my God.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing.
Like an actual website?
Actual website called Wikipedia.
And y'all wonder why I call her my guiding light. I need her in my life. That's why.
I am a wealth of random fucking knowledge.
And that's what I love so much. I love that so much. Okay. Before I move on.
Okay. There
was one thing in your podcast, and I want to bring it up because you brought up labels.
I was going to say Pinterest.
I do want to bring that up because that shit's funny. But that's just a totally funny story. But the thing is that you say, and I want you to repeat it because I'm probably going to murder it, but it's like, you can be Wiccan, but not pagan. Or I'm sorry, did I say it wrong already?
Backwards.
Yeah, okay. So you go ahead and you go with that.
So, all Wiccans are pagans, but not all pagans are Wiccan. Right? So Wicca is a very specific religion with very specific guidelines, rules, practices, ceremonies, things like that, right?
Yes.
And Wicca got super popular. Again, it started in the 50s, right? And then got popular again in the 90s. And 90s, early thousands. And so then everybody just kind of got labeled Wiccan if you were, like, walking a magical path, right? As I like to call it.
Right.
Like, because some people aren't even comfortable saying pagan.
Right.
It's
right,
like,
they're not.
Oh, I'm just spiritual. For the longest time, it was hard for me to say that I was a witch. It was hard for me to say that I was pagan. I would just say, oh, no, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
Right.
And I'd leave it at that.
Which is true.
Yeah, absolutely true. My thing is, for me, religion is one of those things that what I do behind closed doors is nobody's business. So I don't have to tell you anything. If you ask me what my religion is, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
Right.
That's all the answer you need. I don't owe you anything.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
No one.
Right.
Ever. Like,
especially if I think it's going to catch judgment from you.
Yeah, it's like I was going to say, you're not paying my bills. You don't get a say in what I do. But even then, you wouldn't get a say in what I do, so I don't care.
Right.
It's very much a matter of, this is my identity. And am I going to put part of my identity in your hands to do with it what you will? Because what are you going to try to do? Squash it? Judge me and squash that? Be like, oh, you're a witch?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's really... I think it's taken me a long time to even say those words.
Yeah, a lot
because you've listened to my podcast, but like, I went through some shit. I had a negative stalker through high school that would threaten to kill me every time he saw me. That he was going to burn me at the stake because I was a witch, and he tried to follow me home one day. So like, I've been through it. So for me to say I'm a witch, it just has taken a really long time. And I think it's taken not only my own comfort within myself and the power that I possess. And I don't say that in a cocky way, because we all possess power.
Yes.
But just feeling that I can control that. And I do have that ownership of that power.
Yes.
And not letting someone else squash that because the word witch sounds negative.
Right. Well, it's such a part of the reason I wanted to bring you on this show, because when we talk about spirituality, it's almost like, it's kind of like just what you were saying. Like, you can be pagan and say you're spiritual, but it's almost like the spiritual community doesn't want to say that they're pagan either. Even though the spiritual community is practicing with crystals and they're doing, and even just the definition of a ritual is brushing our teeth.
Yeah.
So there's so much verbiage that freaks
no,
people out for no reason. For no reason.
It really is. And that's why I hate labels. That's the exact reason I hate labels.
Yes.
Because we get so hung up on what the word means to person X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Right? So growing up, the word witch was negative. So I probably just started using it like 10 years ago. Yeah. 5 years ago, maybe even, where I was really confidently saying I'm a witch. Somebody would be like, well, like, you're a pagan, so like, does that make you a witch? And I'd be like, oh yeah, it does.
Right.
Yeah. I work magic.
Yeah.
I do some things.
No big deal. Yeah, I'm not really a witch though.
Yeah, like, I'm not like that kind of witch, but like, I do some things. So owning it and being like, if somebody asks me, and even still, because like, again, I just hate labels, because I think labels put you in a box.
Yes.
They put you in a box where people are going to judge you, and you're going to judge yourself, and you really have to worry. And I think one of the reasons that my podcast is called out of the broom closet is because you do have to come out of the broom closet.
Yes.
There are some parallels, and I'm probably going to upset some people with this, and I mean zero offense, but there are some parallels with owning your spirituality and your witchiness, the same as the LGBTQIA plus community. Right. Am I saying that they're the same? No. Am I saying that we have the same stigmas? No. But I'm saying there is that fear of judgment if I come out as X.
Yes.
So I know people that lost their entire families when they came out as pagan.
Right.
Because that was the devil. They were going to hell, and they couldn't be around that person's children because they were going to ruin them. And make them devil worshippers.
Right.
Is that true? No, not at all. But that's the fear, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I said, there are parallels. They are not the same. I'm not trying to say that they are the same, but there are parallels.
Yes.
Which has always been the joke, right? I used to say that, one of these days I'll come out of the broom closet, right? And it was more of because my friends knew, my family knew, but like I have a very professional day job.
Yes.
Right? I work in an office. I work in a very like corporate setting. So where everyone can be like, oh, God bless in the office, right? Nobody's going to say anything. I'd be like,
you can't be like, God bless.
Be like, have a blessed day. Not a blessed day, a blessed day. Blessed be, my friends.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't, if I were to have said that,
right,
what on earth would have happened, right?
Right.
And so I kept it very to myself. And again, part of it was, I'm not out here trying to be a spokesperson in my everyday day-to-day life.
No.
Of this is what a witch looks like. And it's like, granted, is it? Yeah. But like, that's mine.
Yes.
That's my religion.
Yes.
That's my spirituality, and I don't need to give it to somebody.
Yes.
I'm not passing it around for approval. I don't care.
Yes.
Right? The only things I cared about was how it was going to affect my mundane life. Right? So, living here.
We live in a very...
conservative.
Close-minded. Probably... And this is so funny. We're from California, but the thing is that we lived in the most closed-minded, conservative, Republican, Trump-toting county in all of California.
Agreed.
You go anywhere else, it's the complete opposite. Here, for whatever reason, it's not, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
to each their own, right?
To each their own. Such a big part of why
but
I want
it's
to start
closed-mindedness.
This, yes.
Yeah. So I was very concerned about anyone finding out because I didn't want to lose my job.
Right.
Right? Because when I first started that job, I was told that these people who are higher up are very religious. They go to church together every weekend. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, right. So I just kept it to myself. No big deal. Because again, it's not like I'm out boasting. I'm not. It's, again, it's my spiritual practice. So I don't need to be,
for anyone else.
Hooting and hollering.
I think
about
my
it all the time.
only thing with like a box, like if you were to be like, Brizz, what do you label yourself as? My problem with boxes is, one, when you're put into a box,
then you want out.
Well, you're not, it's like you're not allowed to be out of it. It's like if I say, okay, and I think the very first time I met you, which is what we'll go into next, I think I told you I was pagan.
Yeah.
Because at the time it was like, that was the thing that I resonated the most with, or the thing that I practiced the most. But my whole entire life, I've never really known really what to say, but especially now, speaking in terms of now, where it's like, well, I'm so many different religions, actually. You know, and I study religion and I study communication, and so this is just a part of like me seeking it. But my pagan roots were in adulthood. I didn't get the child. I didn't have that household that flourished that for me. I grew up in a Christian Baptist household, so it didn't flourish that for me at all. So coming into adulthood and finding, you know, being one with the earth made the most sense with me, which is really what being pagan is all about.
Absolutely.
What you put into the earth, you get back.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than what pop culture has really made it seem.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
really just about your connection to your earth, to your food, to protecting yourself, to guiding yourself, and being a good fucking human being, which we need a lot more of.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I think I resonated with that. But then, you know, I got into the Buddhist culture and Hinduism and all of these, you know, Shaktism and just all of these just really crazy, you know, enlightened religions.
Yeah.
So I don't even think I could put myself in a box now, which is what you've explained too, where, you know, what do you label yourself as?
I label myself as spiritual.
Yeah.
Or pagan or a witch, because a witch is, again, a very broad term.
Right.
Right. I don't really use it that much. If somebody asks me, then yeah. Right. But really, I would just say I'm spiritual. And my joke, I used to be in a group, and you'd go around the circle and say your name and what your path was. And it was like, oh, I'm such and such, and I am this, and I am such and such, and I am that. And a lot of people would be eclectic pagans, right? Which essentially means you pick and choose from a smorgasbord of spirituality, right? And you take what works for you and you put it on your plate, and that's yours, right? And so my joke was always just, oh, I'm Kyra and I'm eclectic.
Yeah, literally.
Period.
Yeah.
just eclectic. Like eclectic everything. Like I am in all the ways possible.
Right.
You know, because I felt like that was more of an accurate depiction of who I am as a human being.
Yes.
And I think that's what matters more than what I decide to say the path that I'm walking at this particular moment in my life is called.
Yes.
I am walking a path of spirituality. Period. I don't need to label it.
Right.
You know, because... And it's funny because I use like the phrasing of path all the time, right? And even like when I journal, right? You know, I see a lot of path, like in the woods. This is a path. Here's a path, and there's this vision that I have, and vision might not be the right word, but I will say vision. This vision that I see in my head usually when I'm going through like just journaling to like let things out of my body and I write a lot for like therapy and just I feel like that's a way that spirit communicates with me as well.
Yes.
Is I'll just write and whatever comes out. And, you know, I've always kind of seen spirituality as these people walking through a forest at night and everybody's on their own path and you can see the lanterns through the trees.
Yes.
You just see the light moving and we're all moving in the same direction. You're just not on the exact same path. But you're right there. If I take 5 steps over, I can hold your hand if you need me to. I don't have to walk the same path to be there for you.
Yes.
You know? And I think that there's so much. I think that labels do more damage in a lot of times. Obviously not always. But I feel like labels do a lot of damage because they make people feel... in trying to find a community, you actually segregate yourself.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, oh, well, I'm Asatru, right? So Asatru would be a heathen, which is like Viking culture. And I probably butchered that, so please don't get your panties in a twist, whoever's listening. Okay, but, you know, just that very like Viking path. I'm just going to call it. Okay. Again, I'm butchering it and I understand that. And then you would have somebody who is like, say, eclectic pagan, or, a worshiper of Gaia, right? Or a worshiper of Isis, or whomever, right? We're still headed in the same direction. But if we start, and sometimes having that label is very good. People need that identity. Some people really need that.
Yes.
Then, man, slap that sticker on. If that's what makes you feel whole inside and like you have a community, do it. Don't make me do it.
Right.
Don't you dare try to make me do that.
Yes.
Like, I will do it in my own time should I feel the need. For me, I am a spiritual being, period.
Right.
Am I pagan? Yes, because pagan, the definition of paganism or being pagan is not following one of the main world religions, which would be Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Muslim, and Buddhism, I believe. I don't even know if Buddhism fits into the world religions or not, but I feel like it should.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it does.
Only because of the amount of followers.
Yeah,
don't quote me on that.
And so if you don't follow one of those, which are typically monotheistic religions, which means there is one supreme being, and then they have minions, which would be, angels, seraphim, things like that, right? If you're not that, then you're pagan.
Right.
Technically. So technically, and y'all were speaking technically, I don't want any hate for this. Technically, like Native Americans would be considered pagan.
Right.
Because they have a pantheon of gods.
Right.
Of deities.
Right.
Right? So technically, if we're looking at the definition of Google, Native Americans, native cultures are pagan, which is where pagan religions come from.
Right.
Is ancient religions where they honored the changing of the seasons because only a god could do that.
Right.
What is causing this change in the weather? It must be a god.
Right. Isn't that funny how religion really turned into what it did?
Yeah.
That's definitely a talk for another
I was
time.
going to say.
I'm like, let's not even. My mind's already spinning, and I'm like, don't go there. Don't go there. We don't have enough time.
We need people with far more knowledge than just myself.
Than just me and you bullshitting about our own experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to bring up the very first time I met you.
Yeah.
So everybody out there doesn't know this, but my grandmother actually had lost her daughter, my aunt, and one of my other family members. Did she work with you, or was she just an
acquaintance?
Yeah. So she knew Kyra, and so my grandma got a mediumship reading from you, and then she ended up purchasing one for me, and I think that that's probably one of the best gifts that I've ever gotten, and just most thoughtful.
Yeah,
that's something that you just can't almost put money on sometimes, but. When I first met you, I just really felt this genuine, honest connection to you in this weird way. But I think it's because you're just so real.
I try.
And you're not, it's not like this, pop culture does a lot of this too. I don't look at you and think like, she's definitely pagan. Because you don't have like, you know what I mean?
No.
You don't have a pentagram. There's nothing.
No. I think I might own one. Might.
I don't even know if I have. I think the only thing that has pentagrams in this house are my books.
Yeah.
About.
Yeah, I think I have one for when I was in high school that I've held on to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So, but I think that being a medium is just something that's so special. But also so scary. So that's where I want to definitely dive in with you, because I think that for all of us, a lot of us are intuitive. A lot of us have the ability to tap into intuition and different things. Can all of us maybe speak to people on the other side?
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably. Are all of us willing? No. Because it's fucking terrifying. So I want to know a little bit about your journey and where you started.
Oh.
A little bit about where you started. But also really what brought you to like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try.
Yeah. So for me, like I've seen and heard things my whole life, as long as I can remember. Used to be a joke about how terrified I was of the dark. Like my sisters locked me in a closet once and just thought it was hilarious. Like cackling outside the door. And I was in there bawling, screaming, and it's so funny because when I watched The Sixth Sense, right, and I know it's pop culture, right, which seems to be a theme in this episode today, but when I watched The Sixth Sense and he gets locked in that closet in that party and he's screaming, begging to get out, and then he comes out and he's just drained, that's how that literally has happened to me. I did not get attacked, I didn't come out with scratches and bruises, it wasn't like that,
right?
But the fear that I watched that scene and cried. Because I'm like, I have felt that fear.
Yes.
Did I get attacked? No, but I felt that fear. You know? And so my whole life, I have seen and heard things, and I was just always told by everyone that I had an overactive imagination. And so that's what I ran with. So I'd sit there and I'd have these conversations with people and just think that I was just talking to myself. And it literally, it's funny that like, you know, I was kind of the start of your path, because that reading with your grandma was one of the things that really led me to owning my mediumship. It hasn't been that long that I've owned it.
Right. Only a couple of years. I mean, when did
only
I
a couple of years that I've
ago?
owned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it started with tarot, really, right? So, you know, I've been reading tarot for 25 years, and I would read tarot and I would hear things, and at first, obviously, like, I wouldn't say everything that I heard, and I think that's a whole different freaking episode of learning that. But it took me a long time to realize that sometimes the information was coming from people that were not my intuition, and were not
guides.
My guides,
right?
And we're not their guides, because I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is my intuition telling me this, and then I would hear my guides, and I'm like, okay, that is my guide. I recognize this. Okay, cool, we're going. And then it would be like, and I feel like really what it was I feel like tarot opened the door to me trusting my intuition, to allow me to then be trusted with people coming to me in a more forward fashion. Right. So I had, before your grandmother's reading, I had multiple tarot readings where I'm like, hey, sometimes people show up. Can't control it. It just happens. If you want somebody to pop in, just kind of call to them and we'll see what happens. And a lot of times they would. But I was still so nervous about labeling myself as a medium, because to me, when people go to a medium, they're looking for healing from pain.
From grief.
From grief. Yeah.
And that's so heavy.
And it's, to me, my fear was that I would not be able to do it properly, and I would let them down in their darkest time, in their time of need, where they're needing to speak to their past loved one in order to process X, Y, or Z. Right. And so it was my fear of failing my sitters, my clients, my querents, whatever you want to call them. It was my fear of failing them that really kept me from owning that label. Right. So I would just say, oh, you know, I'm a tarot reader. Sometimes people show up. Okay, so even on my Instagram, it says reluctant medium. Yeah, right? Because it was like, true. Maybe right. Like I can do it, but you know, I'm not going to say that I can do it.
Right.
You know, and it's really taken a long time, and a lot of instances, and a lot of good friends. I have a teacher who I adore, who has done a lot for me, as far as guided me down, like just do it. Just do it.
Yes.
You can do it. Just do it. You know, he's very fantastic. And then there's, I've told you the whole David Bowie story, didn't I?
Oh yeah. I think you should retell that story for everyone here, because premonition dreams are real, first of all. Yeah. I think that I mean, that's also probably another episode, but
That's
how
a different
powerful.
episode. Because I really don't feel like mine's really... it's semi-premonition-ish. Right? It's more of like just a message.
Yours.
So,
right.
It was a message for me, yeah. So, like I said, I'd had years and years and years of people just showing up when I'm doing a reading. And being able to relay that information. And the thing that I can say to anybody who is wanting to do this, get out of the way. Get out of the way. You're a medium.
Right.
You say what you hear, you say what you see, that's it. It's not your room to interpret. It's not your room to try to decipher. Like, granted, it's a game of charades, quite literally.
Right.
So you do have to kind of decipher a little bit because you're trying to put the pieces together to give the information to them. But I don't have to know what it means on a, like, okay, it would be like, oh, I'm seeing a red pickup truck. What does that mean? And try to get that before I say it to the client. I would just be like, I'm seeing a red pickup truck.
Right. And
whatever that means for
that.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever that means for you. I'm seeing a red pickup truck. I don't know what it means, but here's your red pickup truck. And they'll be like, oh my goodness, my grandpa drove a red pickup truck. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and that's just a very vague example, right? So don't decipher it before you say it. Just say it.
Right.
Just get out of the way and just say it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can tell people that want to get into doing anything like this.
Yes.
And so the whole David Bowie story is I've been obsessed with David Bowie my entire life. Anybody who knows me knows that. And after he passed, was really when I started kind of owning it. And it had nothing to do with him, right?
Right, right.
It was just a time thing. And one night I had a dream that he called me, like, via, like, Skype or something along those lines. Like a video call, right? And he was on a big screen TV. And in short, the message was, there were a couple of things that he said that were things that I didn't know about David Bowie. Because the universe knows me well enough to know that I'm going to question this. And I'm going to need something to research to prove that this wasn't just me having a dream.
Is this the real David Bowie?
Right, yeah, right. This is literally the first time I've ever recorded this conversation, so I'm kind of feeling like people are going to think I'm insane, but that's fine.
Listen.
Yeah.
You
know? Like, only, I would probably say about 10 people have even heard this story.
Wow.
No joke. So, I had this dream, and like I said, there were a couple of little nuggets, because I don't want to get into the whole thing, because that'll take a lot of time. A couple of little nuggets in the beginning, and I was like, you know, in the dream, I'm just like, oh, cool, I'm having this conversation with David Bowie, whatever. And then the message of the story was, you know, you need to stop getting in the way. And you need to just do this. Stop doubting yourself. You have this ability. You're here to help people. And you're going to help all of these people. And then, like, the kind of view of the camera pans, and it's like an arena filled with people. Like, these people are just sitting here waiting for you to help them.
Yes.
And he's just like, so go fucking do it. Right? And then bloop, hangs up. And I'm like, oh my God, I was on the phone with David Bowie. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, that was a weird dream. Right? And I just, like, go about my day. And then it kept bothering me. Now, I'm the type of person, I don't really remember my dreams past, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Right?
I have that problem.
Unless there's a meaning.
Right.
Right?
Always.
And that's something that I've learned.
Right.
Over my 25 plus years of being in this realm of spirituality, is that if you remember your dream past, like, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, there's a message there. That's not just a dream.
Yes.
That is a message from someone, something. And you need to look at it. Right? And there's exercises that you can do to help you recall your dreams better. And there's all of that. But that's definitely a different episode. But there was this thing that just kept bugging me. I'm like... And the funny part was... It was... not too far before... your... grandma, I did the reading for your grandma, right?
I love that.
That this happened. So, I, you know, wake up and there were those nuggets at the beginning that I was like, is that true?
Right.
Did David Bowie really do that? Google, you know, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. I didn't know that. As much as I love David Bowie, like, not to age myself, but, like, Googling things was not a thing when I was younger. That wasn't an option.
Right. You couldn't get all the deets.
You didn't get that out of Rolling Stone magazine.
Right.
You know,
or the pop star.
Exactly. So, like, I'm like, did I know that? And my brain, and that's how far I went, right? Like, did I really read that somewhere and kind of know that, but didn't acknowledge that I knew that, but it was a seed somewhere that they pulled out. And I literally just heard, just shut up and listen to the message. Just shut up and listen to the message. And there's a couple other things that happened, but that would make a really long story. But essentially that is what kind of kicked me to just be like, just shut up and do it. Just get out of the way. Just shut up and do it. And so, and I even remember reading for your other family member, and their main thing was they wanted someone to come through. And I told them the same thing. I said, I'm going to come over to do a tarot reading.
Yes. And
if they show up, they show up. Great.
Yes.
But I'm not going to promise you that they're going to show up. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to try my damnedest. And that's what I told them. And that's what I told your grandma. And they did. They came through just fine. And it was just like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. You know, great, lovely, lovely experience. And that's really what just made me be like, I just looked up and I was like, all right, David, I heard you.
Yeah. Message received. I get it.
Yep.
I know.
Thanks. And what's really funny is, you know, I'm a huge signs person, right? Like, signs are everywhere. And I shit you not, when I have those moments where I'm, like, seriously doubting myself, because I have massive imposter syndrome, especially with tarot. Nah, I got this shit.
Yes.
But when it comes to mediumship, I still get imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And again, it's that fear of letting that person down. That's always where it's coming from. Because, like I said, when somebody is grieving and they're in pain and they're trying to heal, and I don't want, and I always tell people when they would ask for someone to come through, I'd be like, look, first thing I'm going to tell you is if they don't show up, it's me, not them. It's me, not them. They want to talk to you, just not always as on point as I should be.
Right,
right. Because I didn't want to let them down. And I didn't want them to feel like... Because a lot of people... I have heard horror stories of people going to mediums and they're like, oh, they don't want to talk to you. They're mad at you. Because of XYZ that you did while they were alive. No.
Oh, God.
No. They drop all of that. All of that goes away.
Yeah.
All of that goes away. And the amount of... I know it sounds dumb, but like the amount of confidence that I have gained over such a short period of time because I see the healing. I have people tell me, you know, I couldn't have got through that without you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not a narcissistic thing. It's like, okay, this is my purpose.
Yes. It's giving you hope. I mean, I can speak to your abilities. I know our second time that we got together. And it's so funny because I called on you for a mediumship reading, but... Oh, I gotta tell this story because this shit is next level and I'm gonna try and make it quick. Okay, first of all, I owe you an immense amount of gratitude to even, I feel like, being here at this table right now, only because in that tarot reading that we did that day, you had spoke about me needing to let go of my addictions. And at that reading... I hadn't drank that day, and I hadn't drank for a couple days prior to that, but I set that as my sober date because I knew that I hadn't drank after that. So that was May 4th of last year of 2021. And you had also referred me to some guided meditations. I don't know if you even remember this, but you said you need to start calming your mind down, and this is how you're going to do it. And I went into a guided meditation 2 days later, and I spoke to my higher self, and that's, you know, the day that's when I truly decided to get sober. So I owe that to you. But what's even fucking crazier about this shit is I had just gotten into a relationship with somebody, and you had told me wear protection. You said, I don't know what it is, just wear protection. And I was like, that's weird because we always do. And at that point, we always were, you know. And so that reading happened on a Tuesday. This shit's crazy.
Like the fact that you remember all these
things. Oh, I do.
Mind-blowing.
Oh, dude.
This is the first time I'm hearing this, you guys. So I'm like hanging on her every word right now.
Okay. This happened on a Tuesday. By Thursday, we had did the deed.
Yeah.
And I cannot make this up. The condom broke.
Oh, Lord.
But the condom didn't break like a condom rips or it snaps or anything like that. There was a little hole in it. Weird shit.
Yeah.
So I had reached out to you and just said, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. You fucking called it. I'm feeling some type of way because I was feeling some type of... So I ended up taking the morning after pill that next day. And so I remember feeling some type of way. And it was more of like guilt or something within me. I knew it was obviously the right decision, but it was more just like there was something in me that felt some type of way and I couldn't describe it. And you had said... I don't even remember what you had said to me, but I ended up going to Enchanted Cottage. Y'all, on the Friday, I got off work randomly and I was feeling some type of way and I was like, I'm just going to go to Enchanted Cottage real quick. And I didn't know what I was even walking in there for. I just knew I needed something.
We ran into each other, huh?
I'm going, yes. So I'm fucking in Enchanted Cottage. And for those of you who don't live in Bakersfield, California, Enchanted Cottage is our local like mysticism store.
Yeah, metaphysical shop.
Metaphysical shop. We have a couple more now. They're starting to pop up. But this at the time was the only one.
Only one.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at the tarot decks and I turn around because I hear the door open. And in walks Kyra. And my jaw, I don't even remember if you could see my face, but my jaw went... I can't believe you're here right now. And I know the universe was, because the guy who was working there was like, what? And I was like, I don't know, I kind of am just feeling like I really need to take a bath. So mind you, at this time, there's nothing there for me to take a bath with.
Yeah.
And in walks Kyra, who also, everybody... sells bath salts and bath products and Reiki charged, bath salts and different things like that. So, you can go ahead with sprays and...
Yeah, so I do, currently I do bath salts, crystal included bath bombs where, it's in the middle, kind of like, it's hidden so you don't know what you're getting. So bath salts, bath bombs, shower steamers, energy sprays, and anointing oils currently. But that's going to expand over the next year, 2 years. Yes. So I've got a lot of plans.
And it's called Routine Rituals.
Yeah. Oh, look, Routine Rituals.
I know. I'm like, do you see the cup? Do you see the cup, everyone? Yeah. It's sold here in town at...
Currently, I don't even know if I've told you that yet. So currently it's being sold at Needful Things, which is owned by... a friend of mine, she does consignment. So I had Needful Things downtown, currently on G Street at this time, and soon to be sold at the Apricot Door, which is a salon owned by another friend of mine. And there's been some talk about it going into a few other shops, but because I don't have those things solidified yet, I don't want to say those. Right. But it's also on my website, and I have a website, which is routine-rituals.com. As well as my Instagram. You can hit me up there. So.
Her Instagram is wise.wolf.tarot.
Correct. And then I have one specifically for the product line that's routine.rituals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's funny because earlier you were talking about rituals and I was going to cut into that, but I was like, we'll just let it go.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be bringing up your businesses, girlfriend. But that's just a testament to, I feel like, mine and yours connection.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, from the moment that we met though, too. And it's not, and even now when I reached out to Kyra about the podcast, I was like, of course I want you a part of this because you've been a part of my journey, even in such a small way, but in such a big way. Yeah. So of course I'm reaching out to my medium, you know what I mean? My girl, my pagan princess over here. So I, reached out and you had a podcast and you're like, wow, I just posted about wanting to do some new episodes and so just those little things that I really feel like the universe has brought you to be, and it's funny how that works. But I do want to talk a little bit. We have a couple minutes.
Yeah, I've got 25
minutes. We have more time than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about crystals a little bit because I think that is such a big thing in pop culture.
Yes.
We can thank TikTok so much for the prices going up of crystals.
Yep.
Or the scarcity and lack thereof of certain crystals, which is quite annoying. But I want to ask, what for a beginner, like what would you say are 3 solid crystals for a beginner to have that are easily accessible also? And why you should carry them with you or have them in your home or whatever.
Can we expand it to just a couple more than 3?
Yes. Okay. Sure. I would love to.
So if I was going to make a beginner's pouch of crystals, right? Because, so just to backtrack a smidge, like every crystal can be like charged or programmed for anything really, but they're based on their structure, their chemical compound. They're really kind of already pre-designed for certain things. Color, it affects that as well, because the color of your crystals go with your chakra patterns. You know what I mean? So like a root crystal would be like a garnet is a root crystal because it's red, and like apatite or blue lace agate is great for your throat chakra. Right, because it's blue. But if I was going to give somebody a starter kit, if I really had to just do 3, I would do clear quartz. I would do probably citrine, and smoky quartz.
I have 2 of those on the table right now.
So if I was going to put together a packet, it would be, it could be more than 3. I would say clear quartz. And the reason that if you could ever only have just one,
it would be clear.
It would be clear quartz because it is a blank slate, right? And it can be literally programmed to do anything.
Same with white candles.
Yes, exactly. So you just it's funny that you brought up crystals because somebody literally at work, because I've stopped hiding it, by the way.
She came out of the broom closet.
I came out of the broom closet, guys. Literally had somebody at work being like, hey, how do you charge crystals and like all of that? And I was like, oh, well, depending on the type of crystal is how you would cleanse it and charge it based on, the elements, whatever. And whether it's water safe or not. But literally, clear quartz is a blank slate. You can just hold it in your hands, focus on whatever you need it for that day. So say like, today I need this quartz crystal to ground me and keep me focused while I'm at work. Just something I always need help with. But, and you just sit there and you focus until you feel like you're done. And then you're done. It's programmed to put it in your pocket, stick it in your bra, whatever you want to do with it, and you go about your day.
Yes.
So if you could only have one, clear quartz is the way to go. How you reprogram it is you just, the next morning or whatever, you hold it and go, I cleanse this crystal of any previous programming, and today it will be programmed for XYZ. Right. So, but if I was going to make a little bundle for somebody, I would say clear quartz because it can be programmed, citrine for joy, happiness, and money, rose quartz for love, self-love, and relationships. I already said citrine. Amethyst for spirituality and calming, and black tourmaline for grounding and protection. Or smoky quartz is another one that's good for grounding and protection, but I personally love black tourmaline. I'm literally wearing black tourmaline today. Black tourmaline. Oh. Actually, it's technically tourmalinated quartz, so it's clear quartz with bars of tourmaline through it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. You already know she's got the juicy crystals.
I do. We're not going to talk about the price of my crystal collection. I could probably buy a house. Put a down payment on a house. Maybe a car. Maybe a house. We're not going to talk about it.
You know what's so funny is like, I feel like if you would meet me and you kind of like know me and just almost like as like you don't look like a pagan, like I feel like I look like a bohemian bitch who would be into some shit like this. You know what I mean? Like I probably look like somebody.
Depends on the day. I've seen you look very not, and I've seen you like the sarong you were wearing the other day. If I saw you in the supermarket, I'm like, that girl smokes weed and has crystals.
Yeah,
hands down. Like, you know what I mean? So.
But I have such a small, you can see it right here. Such a small, amount of crystals. There's probably 15.
Yeah.
But my crystal collection is really, when I feel called to buy crystals.
Yeah.
I don't want to go, let's just say, into a shop and just because I'm there to get crystals, I want to buy one of everything that I want. I really want it to, okay, if I look at it, it's just not oh, you need that. I'm just not gonna. you know.
And the same way. Problem is, I want them all.
Yeah, you must have a calling for all of them. But I feel
do.
the same way for like my tarot cards. You know, my tarot cards has been a very slow moving. I had one oracle deck.
Oh.
For literally since I bought it when I was 18. Mm-hmm. I'm now 29, so 11 years ago, and I had that until I went to Hawaii last year, and I finally bought an actual tarot deck. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you how the universe likes to fuck with me. Yeah. So the whole time I'm like, I really feel like I'm going to get called to buy a tarot deck while I'm here, and like I kind of felt like, anyways, long story short, I run in this crystal shop. Of course, I find the Golden Tarot Universal deck. Okay. And I'm like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's calling to me. I get it. The deck itself, it doesn't even have the name of the card on it.
Yeah.
So you're talking to somebody who's never actually owned I've only owned oracle decks. Yeah. And oracle decks and tarot decks are two very different things.
Very different.
Because an oracle deck, somebody can really make it, and they can put a card and a meaning to it, and that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Tarot has a very specific set of cards that's in every single tarot deck. Yep. Every single card means the same thing across the tarot deck. It really, that's what it is. So I don't know much about it. Yeah. So I'm getting these cards. And the little book that came with it ain't jack shit. It's not like the normal books that come with it and explains everything. It literally just said what the card was, maybe one little thing about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Eventually I ended up getting this random Universal Tarot book, and that's how I learned it. But I just think that it's kind of funny for me in my walk with all of this shit, where it's like I don't want to go overboard because I want one of everything. And I think that might be the problem too, is like I want a pendulum. Yeah, I want to go into this. And I think you even warned me about that in my reading, was like, I know you want to like get really, really learn everything so quickly, but baby sometimes steps. It's good to like learn something
all the way through.
Yeah,
you're a nibbler.
Oh, I want it all. That's my problem. I'm insatiable with it. Yes. Where it's like I get really into it, hyper focused. Even with my arts and crafts, it's like I get very hyper focused and I want to do it and I'm into it. 2 months later comes, and now I'm into something else. Yeah, because my energy is drained now, and now I need to switch over to that. That's just how the world works.
Just ADHD, no big deal.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I do want to touch a little bit, too, on your struggles or lack thereof. Maybe there isn't too much of a struggle in this, but how do you think being one in a working relationship that is not as accepting, but then also being in a relationship with somebody who doesn't practice?
It's difficult. It's, so here's the thing, right, is at work, everybody just kind of, that's her. Mm-hmm. That's her thing. Yeah. It's fine. And what's funny is when it's... Now I've worked there a long time. We're talking almost double digits, right?
Yes.
And so it's gotten to a point... And I was very quiet for a very long time. Yeah. Right? Probably 6 years, maybe 5, before I said anything to anybody. Other than a select few people that I felt I could open up to, and like we'd do readings or whatever. But... got to the point where like I just make a small little comment because I work in a tech industry, and I'd be like, we better back up the servers, guys, because Mercury retrograde's coming. Yeah, you know what I mean. And it became a joke until
they should have backed
people started. Well, I mean, the servers we do backups on that frequently, right? So that's fine, but it literally got to the point where somebody walked over to my desk one day and they're like, is Mercury in retrograde or something? Because my computer is acting ape shit. And I'm just like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, God, I didn't think any of this was real. And I was like, I hate to break this to you, sorry.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, sorry. But, so people around there accept me for who I am. And it's even gotten to the point where, because, again, being a medium, seeing dead people walk around is not uncommon for me. We have an office ghost. And
interesting.
Oh yeah, the funny thing is we've recently moved in the last couple of years, right before COVID.
Followed you.
And yeah, the ghost followed us over because I told him he could, because he never hurt anybody. I didn't want to be in there by himself. I didn't know who was going to be there later. I'm just like, hey, Fred, if you want to come with us, we're moving, but like, you got to be cool about it. Like, don't be a dick.
Yeah,
right?
Stop doing weird shit.
Well, so we deal with a lot of boxes and stuff in our warehouse, and you would literally be walking through there to go to one of the bathrooms, and you could hear boxes sliding. Like someone's pulling a box out. There ain't nobody in there. Nobody. You'd be working, and, you know, everybody faced to the walls, right? Because it's like a shotgun, very thin. And so the computer's lined to the walls. And you would feel somebody behind you, and you'd go to turn. And by you, I don't just mean me. A lot of people.
Right.
They'd be like, was there somebody just there? And I'm like, no.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? And so it's gotten to the point where other people at this office, because I've been so vocal about it, and I wouldn't say that I'm like screaming through the halls or nothing, but like, people know that they can talk to me about this stuff and it's fine. So somebody the other day was like, I swear so-and-so was down the hall, but they're not here. But I saw someone. And I was like, oh yeah, he's like this tall, this color hair, wearing this, he's got a hat on. And they were like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, it's Fred. And they were like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, it's Fred, no big deal, he's fine. He came over from the other building, he's fine. What's he doing here? Right? And so that person then, now their mind's blown, because now they know they can see things, which they've kind of thought previously, right?
Oh, good point.
Right? So now they know they can see things, and they're like, does anybody else see this guy? And somebody else was like, oh, I've seen him all the time. I thought I was just crazy. So this goes back to the whole thing of like, when you asked me.
Everyone has it.
Everybody has it. Just have to get out of the way. You have
Right.
to open the door and get out of the way.
Right.
If you want it. If you don't want it, shut the door, lock it, deadbolt. That's fine. And for some people that works, for others it doesn't, because I tried that too. But
I'm like, you know, I've always struggled with knowing that there was something about me, probably much like you, where you're like, you know that there's something more. Like, deep in my heart, I know that there's a purpose on this planet for me that, in a weird way, is like not of this world. You know, and I have like my things, you know, like my guides, my angels, they speak to me because they like to give me chills all the time, especially recently.
That's because we've been hanging out more.
I know, girl.
Well, full body chills is my indicator that I am on point. Every time.
So what I've learned with my chills is now at this point with my intuition and my powers and my ability to like really be aware of it, is that other people's angels and guides are speaking to me through my chills too. So I think I told you in our last meeting, like I had this situation where somebody was talking about something that was going on with them. And I was getting these massive body, like waves of chills. And and I told her, I'm like, it's their guides saying that she's okay, you know? And I'm not, but see, like maybe I can't say that I don't think it's a mediumship, but I don't know. I really don't know what it is. But I think that that's the scariest and craziest part about it. But you were one of the first people who told me, I see something in you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause this just for a second. I have the reading. I have it all written down.
Oh, Lord. We got 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Really quick, just because I just saw it the other day. This is it. I wonder if I wrote it down. You did say to quit alcohol to get to financial freedom. And can I just say, since I quit drinking, I've done the most traveling I've done in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And I have felt the most financially free. So that's definitely the truth. But you had said something to me like, I think you even said, don't get a pendulum until you've really learned your tarot. I also see mediumship in you. And and you like kept saying that. And I was like, ugh. But it might not be a traditional mediumship either. And so I think that might be where I'm trying to learn and just open myself up to.
And I think that we don't need to worry about the label.
Right. Right.
Doesn't matter if who you're talking to is a deceased loved one, or if it's a guide, or if it's someone else's guide, or if it's an angel or an interdimensional being.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter. When you get to the point where you've honed it enough to feel comfortable with it, you're you'll label yourself or you won't.
Right.
Like, I still don't like using the phrase medium just because it has so much connotation with it, right?
It does.
It has so much weight. Honestly, it's weight. You know, and again, it's my fear of letting someone down. But, you know, I could say, oh, you know, I'm sensitive. I am a, and the reason that medium is becoming more comfortable, I'm becoming more comfortable with it, is because I am a mediary. I am the conduit.
Yes.
Right?
And you're getting the messages. And
I'm
the
just
clear...
the person who, I just hear it, man. I'm the messenger. I'm the messenger. That's it. I'm not the message. I am the messenger. I'm the postman of your intergalactic spiritual messages. Yeah. Right? Like, but that sounds weird and doesn't fit on a business card. So medium work for now. You know what I mean? Like, you can't... If you worry so much about not labeling, then that becomes a problem too, right? But it's just like, oh, I can talk to dead people. It's no big deal. Like, you know what I mean? It's, and I've had a lot of experiences, you know, aside from what we've talked about, that has really led me to being like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yes.
There was a TV show that was integral in me learning that I wasn't crazy, because it was someone who went to places that I had been and I had said things, and my sister, who was also into paranormal stuff, paranormal researching and stuff, she called me one day and was like, you have to turn this on right now. And I was like, okay, God. And she's like, they're at the Whaley House, which was a place where I had a very strong experience. And she's like, she's saying things, and I want you to watch this. And I was like, okay. So I turn it on, and I literally start crying because she's saying everything that I said while I was there. And it was like one of the biggest things for me to just be like, I'm not crazy.
Or alone.
Yeah. No, and like not being I think a lot of it was me just thinking I was crazy, or that I was making things up. I'm like, I'm just doing this because, you know, I have that overactive imagination was the theme of my life. And then to find out that no, it's not. You know, so there were so many pieces that had to fall into place. Yes. You know. But they did. It took a while, but they did. Yes. It took a lot of the universe kicking me and just being like, hello, wake up, get out of the way, let's do this. Like, stop fighting it and just do it. And I've learned that when it comes to your spirituality and it comes to listening to your guides, if you just listen. Yes. And get out of your own way, you can do amazing things.
Yes. Yes. I want to piggyback on that and only say that you also have to talk to them.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds cliche. I say this all the time, but it's so fucking true, because when I started speaking to my angels, and I say angels, guides, ancestors, to me, they're all the same. So I talk to the higher beings above me. Yeah. To source, you know, so when I started talking to them, and especially just thanking them for the signs. Yes. When they come. Yes. Oh, that's a sign. And now instead of saying, oh, that's a weird coincidence, I'm saying, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, angels. Thank you for that sign. Thank you. I see it. Yeah. And the more that you say that, the more that they know that they're communicating with you, and boom, then it comes in fucking every day, all the time. Yeah. And it's not even weird anymore.
No, it's not. And really, it's that acknowledgement that you are paying attention. It's like, oh, look, they're paying attention now. Let's give them what they need. Yes. Yes. You get out of your own way. You stop blocking your own path. Yes. And then you can finally see it. Right. Right. But no, I think that was a amazing point. Yeah. Is just, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you don't need me to talk to your loved ones. You can talk to them all the time. The first thing you hear when you say something is going to be them. It's not you, it's them. Yeah. Yeah. You have that ability. Yeah. And if you're not sure, then you ask them for a sign that you can't make up. Like, hey, I'm going to be driving to work today, and I want to hear a song that makes me think about you specifically. A song that would have made me think about you. And in the 10 minutes between your drive from A to B, that song's going to come on. Yeah. Yeah. You know,
that sign.
As long as you don't have, if you have it on random, it'll come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll get what you need, because they are listening and they are there. Yes. And the more you talk to them, the more you get back.
Yes. My last question, and everybody's final question, will be, tell me about one time that you felt spiritually sovereign. or spiritually free?
Oh, that's a good question.
You've got 4 minutes to answer.
I've got 4 minutes to answer. When have I felt spiritually free? Man, that's such a deep question that you didn't let me prepare for.
I know. I'm like, why did I not text her this question? Tell me?
Yeah, because that's difficult. I would say
it's okay to think about it for a second.
Because I don't really know. It's not really something I think I've ever thought about before, right? It's like, but I feel I'll say the time where I feel most spiritually free is in nature.
Yes.
Right. I'll go hiking and I could never come back and be happy. If I could figure out how to forage for myself,
Right, right.
Which is a goal, right? I have a goal to be able to be dropped in the middle of the woods and be fine. Right now, can I do that? Nope. Sad to say. Very cliche, but no, I cannot. But I would say the times where I feel most spiritually touched and like one with spirit would be when I'm doing readings. Because I feel like that's my purpose.
Yes.
I've always said since I was young that I was put here to help people in one form or fashion. And if I think back to all of the professions that I wanted to have from the time that they start asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'd say 90% of them were roles where I would be helping someone in one way or another. Whether that was a teacher, whether that was a criminologist catching serial killers, whether that was a tarot reader, you know what I mean? Like, it was always something to help people.
Yeah.
So I would say that is when I feel most one with spirit and in my place, and whether it's enthroned or not, however we want to word it, like that's where I feel most safe, most powerful, most secure, most confident.
Yes.
It's like when I know that I'm sitting down with somebody with my cards, I'm like, let's do this. I can't wait. Let's go.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I know me and I know my abilities. I know for a fact that I'm going to help that person.
Yes. Yes.
I can honestly say that I have saved people's lives because they've told me. I have changed people's lives because they've told me. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to make a point that when you are in the space that you are meant to be, things fall where they should.
Yes.
And, I always felt like I was meant to help people.
Yeah.
So I think I will tell you the most moving reading I've ever had.
Okay.
Was I don't really do medical readings because it's very touchy, and when you get a reading with me and I send you an invoice, it literally says I am not a doctor, you can't help me, responsible, da da da. But there was this one woman at an event, and I have gotten her permission to talk about her story because it was so moving for me. And it was at the Mystic Fair that was put on by the Enchanted Cottage, which means this woman got a 15-minute reading with me. 15 minutes. Okay. And I kept feeling this really, really terrible pain in my ovaries. And I was like, listen, I don't know what you got going on, but I know you need to go see a doctor ASAP. And I mean Monday. Tell me you're going to go to the doctor. And I had already given her a really good reading. And again, not saying it to brag, but she was telling me this later. She's like, your reading was so spot on with everything else that when you told me that and the look on your face that I needed to go Monday. And I remember making her promise me.
Yeah.
I looked at her and I said, you're going to go to the doctor soon. And she goes, yeah. And I said, no, you're going to go to the doctor Monday. And she's like, okay, yeah, I'll go Monday. I said, no. You promised me look me dead in the eyes and promise me that you will go to the doctor on Monday. And she was like, the look on your face when you said that, with everything else you had told me that day, I knew I had to go. And she did. And they caught cancer that if she would have waited 6 weeks would have killed her.
Fuck.
They said 6 weeks. If you'd have waited 6 weeks, we wouldn't have been able to take it out.
Wow.
6 months after that reading, I get the text message that tells me that. And I just lost it. So you want to talk about feeling sovereign.
Yes.
And like you're in your place and you're
Yes.
where you're supposed to be.
And free
and
to
just,
be that.
Yeah. It's like that. I cried like a baby.
I'm literally holding it back. I'm like, don't cry right now. Don't cry right now.
I cried like a baby because that was the universe telling me, you are where you're supposed to be. Stay here.
Yes.
Stay here. And it was that reading that made me really push my business forward.
Yes.
Because I was doing readings. Like, I was always doing readings. I've been doing readings since I was 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And charging for them, like, a couple bucks here or there, $20 here or there, whatever. And then, like, I've also had friends that have helped me and stuff that have pushed me. None of this has been done on my own, ever.
Yeah.
In any realm done on my own. But I think it was that reading, hands down, that afterwards I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm not meant to work in an office. I always knew that it would be part of my life and it would be a side thing. But it was that reading that I was like, this is it.
I want you to promise me something right now.
Oh.
On this podcast. I want you to
ma'am.
promise me that we're going to come back in 6 months and do an episode either on your podcast or my podcast.
Okay.
After you quit your office job.
Oh, girl. 6 months. That's not very long.
6 months.
Can we say in 6 months maybe I'll be part-time? Like,
yes!
Like,
you know what?
Can we say that we're working towards it?
Can you do that? Is that a thing where you could go part-time?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing or not. And in all honesty,
you don't want to?
Well, it's that company has so much of my heart.
Yeah.
You know, they've given me a lot. Right. They've really helped me grow as a person and as a business person. And I do owe them a lot. I really do. So it would really have to be the right situation for me to just drop, right? If it was the universe says, hey, I drive by this building and I'm drawn to this building and this person wants to rent it out for $500 a month because they just want somebody in the building. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to open my shop.
Okay, so in 6 months when we come back to this fucking table, because we're going to need a space. We're going to need a space.
Yes.
I'm going to need a space for this community that I'm building. You need the space.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. I already, listen, that's why I said I want to come back in 6 months.
Let's just say in 6 months some shit will be different.
Yes.
I hate hard and fast. Makes me nervous.
I know it doesn't scare me, but I like applying pressure. That's the thing.
It's funny though because I'm a Scorpio and Scorpios love change, and I am so anti that. So, but in 6 months we will come back and we will see what was changed, and it will be massive. Let's say that.
Oh, I know it.
Because I think when you try to control it yourself, that puts hindrances in. But in 6 months there will be massive change.
There will be.
Yeah.
And we'll have grown, and this podcast will grow, and
the community and everything.
Yes. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I know you've got to get going.
I do. Sorry.
I owe so much of literally this episode to you. So thank you again for coming.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
You have my heart, my guiding light. But thank you. And thank you everybody out there listening.
Thank you.
Real quick, you can find both of us on my Instagram page for Seeking Sovereignty Podcast, and you can find Kyra at wise.wolf.tarot on Instagram.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.